Welcome to the Stand Like Men podcast. I'm Logan Ingram.
I'm Daniel Trollenberg.
And we're here to explore what it means to live out true masculinity and biblical masculinity. This podcast is about us becoming the men that God wants us to be and hopefully bringing y'all along the way.
Yeah, if you're enjoying the show, we'd love it if you would like and subscribe and leave us a comment. That'd be great. And if you have any questions or show topics, send them to standlikemen@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
That's what I'm talking about. Awesome. We're on episode 29, Logan.
Episode 29. That means 29 weeks.
29
well,
weeks.
no, because we did 3 episodes in week 1.
That's true.
So what is that? So 26.
29 minus 3.
26 weeks.
Or is it minus 2?
I don't know.
It'd be minus 2 because we
because we did 3 in 1 week.
So 27 weeks.
Man, over half a year.
It is over half a year.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Incredible.
6 months.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Look at us go.
I know.
High five.
High five.
I guess I can high five you.
High five.
Nobody normally high fives me when I say it like that, and so I'm just used to not offering the high five.
Well, it's because you're dealing with kids.
I do deal with a lot of kids.
Stuff.
I offer
College
fist
kids.
bumps just about every Sunday morning. I walk up and try to get up there early enough to give fist bumps to everybody. Inevitably, those jokers always do something weird. Like they'll high five my fist, or they'll usually saying turkey, and I'm like, or they'll do like a snail. Like they'll stick 2 fingers underneath it and be like snail, as if it's like my fist is the shell, and
What on earth?
and
I've not ever seen
their
or
fist
heard
is
that
the
one.
the snail.
I've seen and heard the turkey one, but not the
Yeah.
snail.
They got snail. There's like we have some kids in the youth group that listen to them. I love you guys so much, and everything you do is wonderful. No, that's not true. I don't mind the whole not fist bump thing. It's fine. Whatever. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't go home at night and cry.
You don't?
I don't. No.
Well, that's good.
What were we talking about before that?
That means you're well adjusted.
I am well adjusted.
We were talking about high fives and the fact
enough
we're on
adjusted.
week 27.
Week 27.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we said 27.
That should be right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So half a year. It's incredible. And we could not do this without our wonderful listeners.
That's right.
Yeah. We got several
I mean, we
great
could.
topics. We could.
We could do this.
Yeah.
without
But we had at
listeners.
least 4 different weeks that the topics were presented by our listeners.
That's true.
3 topics, but we spent extra time on past 2 weeks, which was protecting others with the armor of God.
Yep. So I think we want to talk about protecting others, like in a literal sense, just in a worldly sense too.
Yeah. We wanted to, after we were talking about it afterwards, and I feel like it was a great topic, and I feel like we covered it well, but there's a lot more that we can go into. And so we felt like, I think I cut you off there. I didn't? Okay, great. It wouldn't be a Stand Like Men episode if I didn't have insecurity flare up and stop myself mid-sentence and say, did this suck? I feel like it sucked.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, 27
Keep
weeks.
rolling.
Eventually, just you wait. You're not going to know how to handle yourself.
I know.
What was I talking about? You see, this is the problem.
Protecting others.
Oh, yeah. So, the past 2 weeks, the topic was protecting others with the armor of God. And that was a great topic. We talked about it for a while, but then after we wrapped that episode, I felt like there was more that we could have talked about outside of, and still related to the armor of God, but not directly tied to the armor of God.
Right.
Like still
Just
in
us
that.
as Christians.
Yeah. Just as Christian men, how do we protect others?
Yeah. There's actually lots of commands, suggestions, whatever, in the Bible about protecting others. There's wisdom from Proverbs, there's stories, there's Psalms, Jesus, his parables, all kinds of stuff. So it's very biblical to actually physically protect others. You're not just, I grew up thinking, I grew, and I've mentioned this before, I've grewed. I'm not Gru from the Minions.
No, but you did grewed up.
But I did grewed up, though. And when I grewed up, I realized that I had not misrepresented, but
misunderstood
the difference between weakness and meekness.
Oh, that's a great place to start. What is the difference?
Yeah. So the difference between weakness is just I mean, just you cower, you don't step up, you don't, like I have a tattoo on my arm that says magnanimus esto. It's Latin. It's actually above my family crest, and it means to be of great mind and or to be brave.
Okay.
And so to be weak, you just don't act in any courageous manner. You cower, you step back from adversity, stuff like that. Whereas meekness is you control those moments. Like you show mercy when you should, but you also step up and lead, and you're firm when you need to be, but you don't take it overboard. You don't control everything, but you step into an authoritative role when you need to, and you just take control of the situation. Whereas, like, say you're standing up for somebody, like kids, like some of our listeners are high school, junior high age, and you see somebody getting bullied at school, it is not bad to step up and stand in for them. It's not going against the Bible and turning the other cheek. It's you're actually stepping into a masculine role that God gave us of protecting others, even if that means that it comes, and I'm not advocating for violence, but even if it means things get heated. Whereas weakness is watching all of that happen and doing nothing. I believe it's Jordan Peterson. No, it didn't. It's I've said this quote a million times, and I don't have it in front of me because it's actually long. It's actually a misquote, but I'll tell you, it's the quote about not doing anything. The only way that evil can abound is if good men do nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know that quote.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a misquote of it's a quote by somebody, but he was paraphrasing an inaugural address, actually. And I wish I had it in front of me. It's pretty long, but I really liked that one because it brings up that we're not being good men if we are not stepping up. If we, and all it takes for bad men to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
But it also brings up using our minds, using our brains in the situation, because you don't have to just bring everything to violence.
Yeah.
That's not what we're called to do at all. We're called to use our minds, use our brains, and, act justly, seek mercy, all of that stuff. And that doesn't mean you see something wrong, you go in swinging.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about.
To that point, so I enjoy science fiction, fantasy stories.
Me too.
So Isaac Asimov is this, like, I think they call him like the grandfather or godfather of science fiction.
Okay.
Like he wrote, I, Robot.
Yeah.
He wrote the book. Most of the early days of science fiction was written by Asimov. Like, just an amazing writer, very, very good. And I can talk about him for a while, but I won't. One of his big story arcs was called Foundation. And it's basically, fast forward several thousand years in the future, humans have populated the galaxy and expanded. Well, eventually, all of this is irrelevant. It takes place in what they call Foundation, which is this planet on the periphery out in the outer rim of the galaxy. And there are 4 other, and they're kind of almost separated from the Empire. The Empire is crumbling, their effect is starting to falter, and they're losing control of everything as that happens. And you've got 4 planets that are kind of between the Foundation and the Empire. So the Foundation has there's no like resources on that planet. Like all of their currency is like aluminum scrap that they get from the Empire. And so you've got this mayor who's trying to negotiate with these 4 planets that are trying to take over and assert their own dominance. One of his things is, he says it several times as they're going through, because the rest of his board or whatever is like, hey, we need to fight. Like, we need to step up. We need to fight fire with fire. We need to attack them. We need to meet them with force. And he's like, his response every time is, violence is the last refuge of the incompetent.
I like that.
And I'm like, man, that's strong. Because it's like, growing up, like, I had a temper, I was bullied a lot, and I'm like, I always wanted to like just throw punches because that was a lot easier. It's the last but it is the last refuge of the incompetent. It's basically saying you have no other option. And it's not that you have no other options, is you can't think of another way out of this. Like you cannot think of a non-violent way. You can't think of a diplomatic way. You can't find any other support from anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't,
No,
yeah.
I mean, I totally agree with you, but no, it's very accurate.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And it's been proven throughout history. You know, books on leadership talk about it in business, in the military, whatever else. You know, if all you, like as a parent, if all you just jump to yelling, like you have no power.
No.
You have nothing. I mean, you're just, that's the extent of your parenting.
Yeah.
Like you're not.
I heard another one. If the first person in an argument that yells loses.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, and I agree with that.
Because I mean, as soon as you jump into that, well, for one, you're reacting rather than responding.
Yeah,
nice little callback there, but because you're behaving out of emotion rather than out of like control.
right.
You're not in control anymore.
No. Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, and let's look at some stuff, in the Bible that talks about, so that we're not just spitballing. It's my opinion, Daniel's opinion, that you should stand up for others in time of need.
I agree.
And that it is okay actually to get violent sometimes.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, there are times
again,
that
not advocating, but it's okay. Right. So Proverbs 31, 8-9.
Before you jump into that,
Please.
can I wanted to circle back and talk about, you were talking about the difference between meek and weak.
Yeah.
A weak person, you mentioned Jordan Peterson, and one of his things is like, a gentle man is a dangerous man.
Yeah, it's not a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah. A harmless man is not a good man.
A harmless man is not a good man.
Right. Yep.
Basically saying if you can't protect yourself, or if you can't like physically control something, then that doesn't make you a good person when you don't do it.
Right.
That just means you're harmless and you're weak.
And I grew up thinking that though, because I wouldn't rock the boat. I wouldn't stand up for myself, wouldn't stand up for others. And it's like, I'm a good person. I don't bother anybody.
Yeah.
And knowing now, I mean, it took me 30 years to figure it out. It's completely wrong. It's like I was pretty worthless as a human being. I mean, if we're just being honest, that I can't look back and think of real good that I did. If you're just sitting there doing that, you're just watching everything. You're not, like, I wasn't living. I was alive, but I was not living my life or doing the good things that I ought to do, like that I thought I should.
Doing all of the good things you ought to have done.
Doing all of the good things.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because there was plenty that I was doing just fine, but I knew there was something wrong. Like I knew that I was not being who I really should be.
Yeah.
And that's how I come to realize, hey, you're not actually that great. Because I really was. I was like, why are people treating me like this? Like I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And I have never bothered anybody in my life. I've never antagonized people. I've never started fights.
Yeah.
And looking back, man, it's incredible the difference I think I could have made in my life and others' lives if I had just stood up, if I had just spoken up. And it looking back, and of course hindsight's always 20/20, but I look at just behavior in my own life and habits and behaviors that became like, I just thought that's just who I am. I'm an introvert. That's who I am. You have to accept that. I don't stand up for myself or my family or others. That's just who I am. And I'll never be able to go beyond that. That's what I really thought.
Yeah.
I really thought at some point it was too late for me to step up and to change my ways, and learned, of course, that that's absolutely not true at all.
Yeah.
And I've taken great strides in the last couple of years to fix that. And because growing up, I would do like lead a Devo or something at church, or have to give a speech for something. And people would say that I did a really good job. And I'm like, no, I did the worst job imaginable. Like you're a liar.
Yeah.
And that's just imposter syndrome and my lack of self-confidence coming in. And so one day I realized, man, I'm making these people liars.
Yeah.
Like I'm I'm accusing all of these people of lying to my face.
Yeah.
And I'm refusing to speak, to lead devotionals, to do anything at church, to help with the youth group, to lead in business in any way, because I'm afraid, you know. And I'm not rocking the boat though. I'm not causing problems. But then I realized like how much good could I have done? You know, you think about these doctors who have changed the world, like with cures and medicine. Well, what if they just didn't? What if they never became doctors because they were afraid?
Yeah.
Or they just thought it was a little too hard.
Yeah.
And so I've talked about it plenty on here before, especially in our Fear podcast, is if the reason I'm not doing something, the only real good reason I can come up with is that I'm afraid, it's not good enough anymore. And that was a big one for me, standing up for myself and others. I was always afraid. And you always hear the turn the other cheek piece. You know, that's because it's very acceptable to, you know, you're trying to teach little kids not to hit each other and to fight and stuff in Bible class and FEBS. And so it just kind of gets hammered into you. Don't participate in these things. Don't participate in violent activities. Don't hit, don't wrestle, don't all this stuff. And I think that's kind of a fallacy in our world a little bit. And or an injustice, I guess. Yeah. Is that we try to do that. We try to baby-proof the world. Yeah. For the most part.
And I think when Jesus says turn the other cheek, he's saying violence should not be your first response.
Exactly. Well, I just kept turning the other cheek.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, you're going to do this to me. Oh, okay.
Just roll over.
Well, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I live my life. Well, I can't do anything about that. Well, if I do, I'm going to be mean and I'm going to do something bad, you know. Yeah. And so I just lived like that. And then woke up one day realizing this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's no way this is what God's called me to do. Yeah. Like, that's kind of the realization I came to. Well, it's like, so, and we've talked about this before, you know, like we're not just talking to North American, United States men. Like we're talking hopefully to the world. Yeah. You know, and there's places where guns and whatever else are not allowed. They're outlawed, whatever. Well, I think God calls us to be protectors of our family physically too. Agreed. And so like here in the US, we can be proficient in that stuff. And I think it's good to, but I think it's also good to be proficient. Like I've never been in a fight in my life. Like that's not an invitation for any of our listeners to come find me and see what I'm made of.
Where do you live again?
I've been physical.
Yeah.
I've just not been in a fist fight.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. But, and I look at that like that's probably not great.
Yeah.
Like, cause I have no idea. Say someone, like I have a 17-year-old daughter. I've got a wife. I took them, we went to New York last year for my daughter's birthday, 16th birthday. Well, what if something happened on the street? Well, firearms are not allowed in New York City without a permit. I'm not going to break the law just for, you know, constitutional rights stuff, whatever, in a state that I could go to prison for it. Yeah. When I'm just on a 3-day vacation with my family. But then the hard reality is, what if somebody did get physical with them and me? What could I do? I don't know. So I have been very physical and playing physical sports and stuff and can roll around, stuff like that. Yeah. But I don't know self-defense, I guess, if that's a good way to put it, and any type of martial art or anything. And so I think it'd be a good time to start learning that stuff. Yeah. Man, what if I, you know, what if physically I'm incapable because working out's a little too hard. Yeah. Eating right is a little too tough.
If you had to run a mile to save your family's life, could you do it?
Right. And I actually think about that a lot because I do a lot of backcountry stuff. Yeah. And I think about, well, what if something happens to me? Yeah. What if I get swept into a river or slip off a cliff and I'm hanging, or some rocks or something. Yeah. Like what if I'm not able to get home? Yeah. And that's where I've got to be as physical and strong as possible. Because I have to come home. I have to. Yeah. Well, what if we're on trek with church group, you know, a bunch of youth group a bunch of teenagers were on trek, something happens. What if they get really hurt? Am I capable of carrying them off the mountain? Because maybe we have to. Like but what if I'm not? And I just sit there, we're all just helpless and watch someone possibly perish because of it. Like that bothers me a lot.
Yeah.
Thinking that I would be physically unable to help or even mentally unable to help. What if you never think about that stuff and prepare, because there's lots of ways to protect others. You can prepare for the situation. One of the main things with carrying firearms, like the way to avoid a shooting is to avoid places and situations where you might have to draw your gun, your weapon. I mean, don't ever go there in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't walk into inner city and start hollering at people. Like, that's stupid. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like road rage stuff, especially if I'm out with my family, somebody catcalls my wife or daughter or something. I don't confront them and escalate the situation. Our first response should be de-escalation. Oh, you were talking about, like, we've got to be able to use our brains a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're capable, physically capable, whatever, of the violence, but we don't use it just automatically. Like, that's the weak side of us, is if we just go to screaming or we go to shooting people or knifing people or take them to the ground, whatever, just because of something dumb. Like, let's de-escalate first. I don't know if that was helpful at all for this discussion. I've got a lot to say, but I don't know that's flowing well.
Well, yeah, I feel the same. I feel like we're right there. I just don't know if either of us are presenting it well. It's going a different direction than I anticipated.
I agree.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
We saw a video. I think we've talked about it in the past.
Yeah, my dad uses it in his seminars.
Yeah, he does. And it's I can't remember the dude's name, but this guy was sitting at a coffee shop. I think that is,
or a restaurant.
It was a restaurant. It was like a deli.
He owns a restaurant.
Yeah, him and his dad own this restaurant, and he's just sitting out there eating lunch or whatever. And there was a mom and her daughter. Daughter was preteen, and
she's probably 4.
Oh, was she that young?
Yeah, little.
Okay. I knew she was younger than teenagers. So so like 4 or 5 years old.
Yep.
And it's just a little outdoor patio thing. And this guy comes running up out of nowhere, reaches over the fence to grab the girl and pull her over. Well, as soon as the guy enters the frame and reaches over the fence, this owner of the restaurant jumps on him and like takes him to the ground. Come to find out, he had been spending years studying martial arts and training to be able to like take care of, like to protect people in a situation like this. I mean, obviously he had no idea that this was going to happen, but as soon as it did happen, he jumped in and responded with violence. I mean, doing a martial art takedown. Is that how you call it? Yeah. Doing a martial art takedown.
He held him until the authorities
and then,
got there.
Put him in a lock and then held him there until police came to arrest him. Like, that's a very violent reaction and was necessary in that moment in order to save that 4-year-old girl.
Yep.
Because if that girl was taken, she would never be seen again. I mean, human trafficking is a real thing and it's awful. But I feel like I've been presenting like an anti-violence thing and whatnot. Like, violence is still necessary and good from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a great example of when and how you should do it. But he doesn't go around just beating people up.
Right.
He's using it for good.
Right. And he's not even intimidating people.
No.
He's there in case it's needed.
Yeah.
It's that whole saying, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That kind of thing.
Very much.
Yeah. And biblically, there's examples of using violence to protect others. There's examples of just using your voice to speak up for others. There's times where politically you step in and make rule changes or advocate for people. And so we'll go through some of those.
Yeah.
So Proverbs 31, 8-9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. You don't have to get violent to do any of that.
Yeah.
You just use your mouth. Just talk. Just stand up and speak. And the command there is defend and protect the vulnerable. Psalm 82, 3 and 4. defend the weak and the fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed, rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Actively protect, the command there is actively protect the defenseless and rescue the needy. There's lots of examples of Jesus being a good shepherd.
Yeah.
Well, if you know anything about that, a shepherd is there to guide and protect the flock. Mm-hmm. Like David protected the flock from, was it wolves, bears, and lions?
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely physical stuff there, but also just his presence there is a deterrent.
Yeah.
So like I like to bear hunt and stuff like that, wolves, whatever. And just the human presence is quite a deterrent.
Yeah.
And so even just being there and a presence to people can be a protection. Let me see here. And then Esther is a really good one it has nothing to do with violence at all. Esther 4:14 through 16. And this is they're talking about this is what's going to happen if you don't step up. All right. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from some other place. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. All she had to do was present herself to the king and tell him about it. Mm-hmm. And there was a real threat that she would die if she did that. And so all it took was some courage and speaking up.
Yeah.
And it changed everything. Her whole nation of people was saved because she was able to do that. She had the courage to speak up. And that was it. Like there was no violence involved in that. I mean, there was, but
yeah,
later
for Haman.
Yeah, for Haman. Yeah, because he's a liar and a cheat and sneak and all that stuff.
Well, and it goes back to like the verse says, like if you don't do this, God is going to bring deliverance from someone else. And like if we extrapolate that and look at us, like if we don't stand up and protect people, like protection. I mean, sometimes protection, like in the short term, doesn't come.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
so Good Samaritan, perfect example.
Yeah.
Luke 10:30 to 37. So it's talking about the Good Samaritan. Of course, I don't remember who. This is terrible. The man who was robbed. All right. He was beaten and robbed.
Yeah.
Damage was already done.
Yeah.
There. Good Samaritan stepped in and took care of him after the fact.
Yeah.
That was a way that he protected him because that guy would have died.
Yeah.
If he had just been left there. So which of, it's talking about the people who came by and did absolutely nothing. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell to the hands of the robbers? Only the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan protects and cares for the wounded man when others ignored him. And Jesus commands us to go and do likewise. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't even there when the atrocious act happened, the violence occurred. He came in after the fact.
Yeah.
He used compassion and mercy and helped after the fact.
Yeah.
And all he did was loaded him up and paid for some food and a little bit of care, and that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Back then, I guess it was to them and just the people that they were and the name that they had. But that's a great way to just protect people. Like we look at veterans coming back suffering from PTSD.
Yeah.
We can't do anything for them while they're there in war. And they're using a lot of violence. A lot of violence is being thrown at them. When they come back, there's lots of ways that people can step in and help them readjust and help them get over the traumas that they've experienced. And what an honorable thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, because you can save people's lives by doing that stuff.
Yeah. Just a quick note about the Good Samaritan. Samaritans hated Jews and Jews hated Samaritans. Mm-hmm. Like, we think we've got a race issue in America. Like, this was worse. So the fact that the Samaritans stepped out and did this now it's a parable, but there's a lesson to be learned here. Like, the Samaritan didn't care what the dude was. He didn't care who the dude was. Like, he knew that he was a Jew. He knew that he hated the dude, but he's like, this man is hurt and needs help. We as men, it doesn't matter if we like or dislike whoever we're up against, like whoever needs protecting. We're called to protect them. We're called to help them. We have to put others' needs above our own desires. And so it doesn't matter if we disagree or just dislike the person that needs help, like we still are called to help them. We are people, yes,
Yes.
we are people, and then other people are also people, yes,
Yes.
and our society likes to paint people with a broad brush and just try to keep things as non-complex as possible. But people are very complex creatures, both physically very complex, but also emotionally and all that. Like there's depth to us. We're like onions, to borrow a quote from Shrek.
Yep.
There's different aspects of people, and I've looked at this for a while. They talk about it in Deuteronomy, and then they ask Jesus, "What's the greatest command?" He says, "Love the Lord your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength." You've got your heart is emotional, your soul, your spirit, spiritual. Heart, soul, mind, mental, and then strength, physical. Like you've got 4 different aspects. Now there's more. I mean, we can talk about social aspects of your life, but we can point to these 4 aspects. And what Jesus is saying is, love God with everything, with your entire being, not just physically, not just spiritually, but every part of your body, every part of your being, you need to love God. I'm taking just the aspects of our being and extrapolating that out. Like how do we protect others we've been talking about physically, but we can protect others mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
I mean, I think those are really good points. Like, because there's a lot from scripture that I've misconstrued over the years. Some of it's just maturity. I just don't know what it means. And then others, it's because I read it wrong or just mentally I just thought about it wrong. And I like that you broke it down, that with heart, soul, mind, strength, all of that. Because I think that it's important that it makes that distinction between all of those things. Yeah. Because to be the godly men that I think we should be, we've got to use all of those.
Yeah.
We can't just use our strength to protect everybody. We got to use our heart, we use our mind, our soul, and our strength. We got to use all of it.
Yeah.
And and it's our job to build upon those and to not just say, well, I just want to go work out. I'm not going to work on myself. I'm not going to work on the be of strong mind part. And like, if your heart's not in it, you don't have a heart for other people and mercy and love and all of that stuff, then none of the other stuff matters anyway.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think it's important to do all.
Yeah. And in all of these aspects, there's a lot of overlap. Like, it's hard to separate your emotional from spiritual sometimes. It's hard to separate like mental and emotional.
Yeah.
Like, am I thinking this or am I feeling this right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's a lot of overlap. And so when Jesus is saying, love the Lord your God with all of it, he's saying, don't try to distinguish any of it. Just every part of you needs to be fully focused on loving God.
Yep. One thing I wanted to point out, and I actually just thought of while we've been going through this discussion, I've never thought of it before, but like Micah 6:8 says, he has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. And some versions say to seek justice. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you do that if you're just standing idly by?
Yeah.
If you're just watching, you're not seeking justice.
Yeah.
Seeking is an active thing. And it says, and act justly. In the NIV, it says act justly.
Yeah.
That means you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're not just standing by and watching and just letting the world go by.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an active thing to protect others. And it's a righteous thing. I mean, it is. It says he's shown you, and some of them say, oh man, mm-hmm. which is very pointed.
Yeah.
is what is good. So God is saying this is good. Mm-hmm. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly and love mercy. Well, if you're acting just, sometimes there may be a physical punishment side of that.
Yeah.
But you also are required to love mercy, which mm-hmm. negates that. And you cut that part out, possibly.
Potentially.
Yeah,
depends on the situation.
Possibly, yes.
I think it's important for us to ultimately recognize who the enemy is.
Yeah.
Who are we protecting people from. We talked about it last week in Ephesians chapter 6. It's our battle is not against flesh and blood. Our battle is against the evil, dark forces of this world.
Yep.
And we need to recognize in all cases, whenever we're protecting other people from whatever it is, we're protecting them from Satan, the ultimate enemy.
Yep.
Now, Satan has a lot of tools and a lot of tactics and a lot of ways to attack people. He uses people, he manipulates people and convinces people to kidnap or to attack other people. But he also uses tactics like social media or TV or gossip at school or just people walking around. Like he uses, he has all of these different tactics to attack people in various ways, either in attack people in one of their aspects of their being. Either they can attack them mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually.
Well, look at your and mine imposter syndrome with this.
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
We struggle with it every week.
Yeah. This hasn't been said in this episode yet because I've already cut it out, but that we have not gone through a single episode of Stand Like Men without me at some point stopping mid-sentence and saying, did that sound right? Did that work? Is that on top? I don't feel like I'm not making my point right. And Logan has to say, yeah, you're doing fine. That's a good point. And so, but yeah, like Satan is using my own mind against me.
And he does it to everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because some of the strong, and, you know, going through therapy and talking to other mentor types, people, one thing that's been brought up a lot recently for myself is this idea that Satan attacks you in your strengths, because that's where you're your threat.
Yeah.
You know, like what are you going to do with the fastest running back in the NFL? Try to take his legs out. Like you're not going to try and throw his shoulder out.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Nobody gives a crap about his shoulder.
Yeah.
You take his legs out because his strength is running.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's if you're an MLB pitcher, you want to take they would love for your shoulder to be blown out.
Yeah.
And so he attacks you at your strength because he doesn't care especially if I'm like if I wasn't speaking, if you weren't speaking, he doesn't have to attack you at all.
Yeah.
You're doing exactly what he wants you to do.
Yeah.
But if you're opening your mouth and recording a podcast, well, now he's got to throw some doubt in there.
Yeah.
Because you're doing what you're not supposed to for him anyway.
Yeah, from his perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that we've talked about your first reaction is to scream or something or yell or whatever. And I think that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah. Because as soon as you start yelling and screaming and hitting people, you've damaged your witness. You've become a threat to them. And some people, they need to see you as a threat. But there's some people that like your wife, she cannot see you as a threat.
Right.
If she sees you as a threat, you're in trouble.
Yep.
Your children cannot see you as a threat. People at church should not see you as a threat. And if you're constantly going around reacting to things and yelling at people and don't slap people at church. But if you're slapping people at church, that's a problem.
Yeah, I'd say that's a problem.
You shouldn't really hit anybody anywhere because. And
what is that commercial? And I see it on Instagram or something all the time. And it's this kid knocks down this little girl, and this dad walks over and just slaps him. And then the parent comes over and is like, "You can't do that." And he turns around and slaps them. The cops come and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he slaps them, and it just goes around, and he just ends up laying everybody out.
I've seen that. It's
I don't even know what it's about. I don't remember what the point is.
I don't know. It's probably selling adult diapers or something ridiculous. Like that.
Yeah, it could be.
It's always the most random thing.
But that's what it reminds me of. Just walking around, just slapping people. Yeah, that's the wrong way to go about it.
I agree. Don't go looking for a fight.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that?
You brought it up.
I asked, and then I went a different direction. Yeah. Okay. We do need to protect people, and sometimes that does include physically, but we shouldn't be going around like creating problems to protect people from.
Right. Yeah.
And
You don't
oftentimes when you go looking for a fight, you're creating a problem.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes back to what I said about, that's one of the rules of concealed carry is you just don't put yourself in those situations.
Yeah.
Like if you never want to be in a shooting, don't put yourself in a situation where you might have to.
Yeah.
Like don't go
looking for problems. Yeah.
Yeah, don't go where you shouldn't and cause problems.
Yeah.
Like
be aware of problems that are around you, but
exactly.
And if you know of an opportunity that there is a problem, to go do that, but don't go looking. It's I used to work telecom maintenance, like phones and network. We never walked into a building and just walked up to people and said, "Hey, what's wrong? What's wrong with your network today?" Because ultimately they would find something wrong, even if there was nothing wrong.
Absolutely. I learned that with building trucks.
Yeah.
Like we started trying to follow up with customers who we built trucks for and say, "Hey, I wanted to see if there's you've had any problems." Well, of course.
Of course I've got problems.
Of course. So after the first
I'm glad you asked.
After the first 2 of those, we quit doing that.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any complaints.
Yeah.
But if you're asking
for problems, you're going to find problems.
Exactly. Yeah.
So don't go looking for fights, because if you start asking around, it's like, "Hey, you want to fight?" Someone's going to say yes.
Yeah. Going back to Jordan Peterson's saying, he's a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very, very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control.
Yeah.
And another way to put it too, in a good representation of what meekness is you have a sword, you have the ability to use it, and you're deadly with it, but you choose to keep it sheathed.
Yeah.
When it's not absolutely necessary.
Yeah. I like a lot of Jordan Peterson's, but there's a lot of stuff I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, that's all right.
That point was very good though.
Yeah, I agree. It helped me a lot.
Yeah. Because like what good is it? Like there is a difference between I couldn't hurt a fly and I wouldn't hurt a fly.
Yes.
And like there's a difference in I cannot do something and I'm choosing to restrain myself.
Right.
Because self-control, you're a lot more dangerous. Like you're a lot more powerful. I don't know if it's worth noting. You were talking about watching people get bullied early on in the episode. And if you see someone at school getting bullied, you should step in and do something, right?
Yeah, you don't just come out of left field and with a right hook.
Yeah.
On their blind side.
Yeah, don't do that.
Some people might need that, but they don't also.
Yeah.
It's probably better not to do that.
Don't go to jail.
Yeah.
I was going to say something about protecting yourself. Like, did we talk about that?
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do, because, and I've said it before too. Like, I look at it like my health as that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, if I die of a heart attack at 40 something, what good am I? How can I protect anyone?
Yeah.
I can't. I'm dead. And so same thing. That's just what you're talking about. You got to protect yourself. They're going to the mountains. I got to protect myself up there.
Yeah.
I got to come home.
Yeah.
Like, it's not selfish of me to go to the gym every chance I get and try to be healthy. It's a good thing because of that, I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I'm able to come home. I'm able to protect others if I need to, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so I think we absolutely. And I believe that there's a point at which we do stand up for ourselves also, just in general. Like there's nothing honorable about being bullied.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like just to be harmless.
Yeah.
There's nothing honorable about that. There's nothing honorable about being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned that in business, because I used to think, well, I'm being taken advantage of. Well, I'll just chalk it up to maybe a relationship building thing. And, well, I'm not causing problems and losing a client. And then I woke up one day, I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
this is dumb. Like, it's actually worse for me to do that. It's actually hurting me to be like that.
Yeah.
It's hurting me to not stand up for myself. It's hurting me to not stand up for my family. So I think in conclusion on this with protecting others, that protecting others is biblical. Protecting yourself is biblical. We just have to do it the right way. We've got to use our minds, just like you talked about, loving the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. I think protecting others comes from those 4 places as well. Because we can do it without violence. We can do it by talking. We can do it just by coming alongside and loving other people. It's amazing how much just loving others can protect them, because maybe they're going down a bad mental path, and just coming alongside them and showing them support, and they choose to make different decisions from there. But again, it's biblical to, violence might be part of that. Generally, we try to steer away from that and de-escalate situations, but it is biblical to be able to stand up for others and ourselves.
Thank you for listening to the Stand Like Men podcast. We'd really, really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe and leave us a comment. Ultimately, if you have any questions, comments, or snide remarks, send them to standlikemen@gmail.com.
Our verse is 1 Corinthians 16, 13, and 14.
Be watchful.
Stand firm in the faith. Act like men. Be strong.
Let all that you do be done in love.